Welcome back to the ANS Way. Today I thought I would do a dedicated video on the shipping process, as that's quite a key part of moving to the USA. Now, we have shared quite a lot of information on shipping in other videos, but we have never done a dedicated video on how to ship your belongings from the UK to the USA. Now, you might be thinking, what is involved? Who do you need to contact? How do you prepare? What are the costs? Well, do not worry, as I'm here to help you. Firstly, what we know is based on our experience from moving from the UK to the USA. I would imagine if you're shipping from other parts of the world that at least the process is fairly similar, I should say. Our particular process was funded by my relocation package through work. And if any of you have been following our story, you will know how complex our journey to getting to the US has been. We had an initial pack and load, our things went into storage, we then moved into another apartment, got some things out of storage, we then had another pack and load. So I cannot share the final costs because I never personally saw those costs. And I really do hope that you do not go through the same situation that we went through. But what I can share is a quote that we did get separately for the initial pack and load, and I will get to that in a moment. First thing that you need to do is choose your shipping company. At this point, you do not need to know the exact address where you're going, but you do need to know where you're going. As an example, we knew that initially we was moving to the Bay Area in California. So as long as you know that, that's the first thing that you need to know. Then you need to contact the shipping companies. And I would say that you need to factor in two main things when picking your shipping company. Firstly, picking a reputable company, one that gets good reviews, and the other is based on price. So I recommend going online, having a look at Google reviews. If you know anyone else that has moved before, really do pick a reputable company, as I have read horror stories about poor service, things going missing, packers not turning up. So at least as a very minimum, make sure you pick a good, decent company. The next thing I would do is try and get at least 2 to 3 companies that look good to you, and have them come to your home and offer you a quote. To give you a quote, they will need to do a survey. Now, for us, pre-pandemic, this survey was done at your home with someone physically walking around your home to survey the amount of things that you need to be shipped. Now with the pandemic, things have changed. They may be doing that via a video call. We've experienced both. Our first survey was done with somebody coming into our home. The second one, when we was living in the apartment, I literally had my phone up and was walking around as the guy had a look at all our belongings in the flat. So how this works for you will depend on kind of current restrictions of where you're living. We have been asked this multiple times. How much does it cost to send your things to the US? I honestly cannot answer that for you because it is very unique to your situation in terms of how many items you have and how much space that's going to take up in the container. As an example, if you are taking up a 20-foot container by yourself, that's going to be more expensive than if you share a container. The other thing that will have a factor on price is where you're going from and to. Presumably, if you're going a longer distance, it will cost more. The other thing will be whether you're sending anything via air as well. So how much of your belongings you send via sea versus air will also have a factor on the final price. As a side note, insurance also plays a factor in the final cost. So depending on what you're sending and the value of those items will also increase the final price of your quote. We highly, highly recommend, if you can afford to, send your things via air. It is more costly than the sea shipment, but it really does mean that you can get your things a lot quicker. And personally for us, as our sea shipment has been significantly delayed, the fact that we sent our coffee machine, our computers through air has made a huge difference. So highly recommend sending anything important, anything that you really need quickly via air. With this type of service or this type of shipping, I really do recommend using the pack and load service. So this is where packers come to your house and you literally sit back, and apart from telling them what is going via sea or air, you sit back and they do all the packing for you. Now, this is where me and Ant had a slight debate, because I thought with this type of shipping, you have to take the pack and load service. I think this could just be maybe my understanding. So we're not 100% sure, but this is our current understanding. If you're sending your things via Sea Shipment or air, if you get their pack and load service, this enables you to get their insurance. Because they're packing it for you, you can then insure at a cost your things for anything that goes missing, breaks in transit. If you decide to pack it yourself, then they won't take that insurance for you. Therefore, you can't insure your things. That's our current understanding. I thought you didn't have that option, but Ant does believe there is an option. But either way, we're saying get the pack and load. It makes your lives much easier. We had 3 companies in total come to survey our house. Presumably, my company picked the cheapest quote that they've got. That's my assumption. But as I said, I do not know how much those quotes came to. We did, before we had those companies, we had Matthew James come and do a survey and quote us. And for our house, so we had a 1,400 square foot house, 4-bedroom house with a garage. Our quote was £7,000, and that was filling a 20-foot container. So it was £7,000 for our shipment, plus 3.5% towards the insurance. So that was additional on top. And then we had 1.3 meters cubic squares, I think that's right, probably got that wrong, for the air freight, and that was £2,500, and then we would have to pay insurance on top of that as well. Once you have your quotes, pick the company that you feel that you're getting the best service versus price for. Sometimes you get a sense when they're coming around to do the survey of which company you would like to go for. In our case, we really had no choice because my company was ultimately picking it. So next, do you need to send everything via sea, or do you need to ship everything? We've been asked this as well. Well, that's really up to you, and also depending on your situation. As an example, if we knew that we wouldn't be able to fit our things where we was going, maybe that we would only be able to live in a 1-bed or a 2-bed apartment, which was much smaller than our home, we would really need to think about the fact that we would need to get rid of some of our items, because we physically would not be able to fit our household items into the place we're going. In our case, we knew we would at least be getting a like-for-like size house. Little did we know that we would end up with a much bigger place. But again, it really just depends on your situation. What we did do is make sure to clear out any general junk. There is no point carrying things that you do not need when you move to the USA. So we did do a good clear out in the months leading to us leaving. We sold items. I sold bags, like trainers that I had that were fairly new, sofas. So definitely, if you know you're not going to use it, definitely get rid of them. Other things that you need to think about is that you cannot take perishable items with you. So no food. Most companies won't allow you to take alcohol either. So drink that alcohol, and you will need to get rid of your food as well. And any other thing I need to think, air. With air, there are restrictions. Your shipping company will explain this, but not everything can go via air. As an example, in our original plans for the move, Ant had his bike going via air, and you will hear him often talking about how much he cannot wait for his bike to be here. Now, his bike was a normal bike before, but then during the pandemic, he bought an e-bike. And lithium batteries cannot go via air, so that had to go via sea. It also had to be packed in a particular way. So just be mindful of what can go via air and sea. Next, do you need to get rid of your electrical items? You will probably read on forums, and also you may have your shipping company recommend that you cannot take your TVs or electrical items with you in the USA. This is not true. We have actually done another video specifically discussing using your electrical items in the US. Go and check that out. We'll put a link somewhere here. But what you can do is buy what is called a step up, step down converter. And that means that you can use your UK electrical items in the US. It's pretty easy. The box isn't the prettiest, but it definitely saves you a hell of a lot of money, especially if there's really no need to replace those items. Especially like me, I have quite an expensive Dyson that my mum bought me for Christmas. I did not want to get rid of that. Obviously, if you need to replace your electrical items anyway, or they're old, you might as well get rid of them in the UK rather than sending it to the US, and just buy new in the US. Obviously, right? So you've picked your shipping company, what's next? You are probably thinking this video is super helpful, so I'm going to pause whilst you hit that like button. I'm getting good at this, right? I'm learning. It's taken me time, but I'm learning. Now you've got your shipping company, they should assign you what they call a moving specialist. And that's quite an important person because, and you will find you end up speaking to this person a lot. I cannot tell you how many email exchanges I had with my moving specialist. You really do want somebody who is going to stay on top of things and keep you informed. They are kind of like your lifeline with your shipping equipment during the whole process. Next is setting the date for the pack and load, and ultimately when your belongings leave the UK. This will be estimated because at the point you get your quote, you probably won't know the exact date you're leaving, because the date you're leaving will be dependent on when you get your visa approved, finally book your flights and sort your accommodation, either your temporary ones in the UK before you leave, and also obviously where you're going to in the US. If any of you have watched our situation, you will know that our plans did not go according to plan at all. If you haven't watched it and you've just happened to have come across this video, I do recommend that you go and have a look at our story, because I would say it was a little bit interesting. Pretty much everything that could go wrong did, and nothing went to time. And this is where I will come back to the Sea Shipment. Now, they will estimate anything from, say, 7 weeks to 11 weeks for your Sea Shipment. And that is when things are normal. Our Sea Shipment has currently taken over 2 months and is estimated to take about 3 months. And we still have no idea when it's going to turn up. So please, please do take that into consideration and really think about the fact that you will not have those things for the next 3 months, and also consider other things that could go via air. For us, the air shipment, they quoted us 10 to 20 days. It took 3 weeks in total door to door. So if you can have more things go via air, or if you can pack them in the suitcases with you, just take that opportunity. Do not rely on the current quotes for Sea Shipment. In terms of readiness for the pack and load, be prepared to fill in lots of forms and provide documentation. This is probably the worst part of the whole process for me, to the point that we paused filming so that I could get a glass of wine to get me through this moment with you. I did not like it. There were lots of forms, and I think because there's so much going on at the time, and you will feel at times quite overwhelmed with it all. But be prepared for the form. So in terms of documentation, you will need to provide your passport, visa, which is why before you can actually plan your final dates, you will need to provide your visa documents to them. There is a destination sheet. The shippers obviously need to know where you're going, the exact details. There is an insurance form. Do insure your things. I wouldn't take that risk of not having your things insured. We decided to list out every single item. We had an Excel spreadsheet of every item we had in our house, in the room it was in when it was originally packed, and the price. We highly recommend doing that. In addition to that, and this is where it gets even more complex, there are these US Customs forms. I believe one of them is called CBP 3299. There's a declaration form and a power of attorney form. It is quite complex. There's a lot to do in those forms, and also what I struggled with was the language on the forms and understanding what they're actually asking you. I should have known then that there would be issues with moving to the USA and understanding, but fortunately I would say our shipping company provided quite good instructions on how to fill the form, but I still found it quite complex. I even went on a few websites to understand what the terms mean, but your moving specialist should really help you with this. So if you do have any questions, do go to them. Do not ask me. I do not enjoy it. One last comment on the forms. In order to fully complete them, at that point you do need to know your exact address. So in our case, we only had that probably a month or so before we left, so you do need to know where you're going. It doesn't matter if you do not have your final place, like where we're living now. We've just updated the shippers, the shipping company, with our address, but they do need to have a address in order to start the process for you. So forms done, shipping company picked, you've got your form set, you've got the date. Last things to consider is, are there any other things that you want to take with you, either through shipping or in your suitcases? For us, we didn't really have anything. Ant was actually very convinced that we'll be fine and there's nothing from the UK that we want. So the only thing that we bought was PG tips. We bought about 1,000 PG tips, I think, in total from Amazon. We wanted to make sure that we had a very good supply. The only mistake we made is that we sent all of it via sea, and obviously we didn't know it was going to take about 3 months or even longer to get here. So we have been managing without PG tips now, which we're very disappointed about. The only thing we would have done is taken one of those bags and put it into our suitcases. So do think about what you would like from the UK. The day of the pack and load is approaching. I would recommend having a look at some of our videos, as I do share tips during that, and we also have filmed some of it. So do go back and have a look at our other videos. I would say be somewhat prepared. I say somewhat prepared because everyone has slightly different personalities. I like to be super organized. Anton likes to leave everything to the last minute, but there are things that you do need to do before the packers arrive. Firstly, have all the things that you are taking with you physically in your suitcases and carry on with you, so that you do not accidentally have the packers packing those things. So have your suitcases packed. Another thing to know, and something we wish we'd done, we had 5 large suitcases and 2 carry-ons. Had we have known our sea shipment would have taken so long, we would have taken at least an extra suitcase with us of other things. So do make use of your suitcases and what you can take with you, because at least you know it's with you and you will have it straight away rather than waiting months. Make sure to keep anything of sentimental value, jewelry, money, any personal items separate with you. All of those things we kept with us, and in fact we put them in our carry-on, so we didn't even put it into the checked luggage. We made sure we kept that with us. Do not put anything or leave anything personal for the packers. That's your identity, your banking. I'm laughing at myself because I almost sound like I have the fear of the US, but it's really not sensible to leave all those things in a shipping container for other people to have access to. So do keep that separate. Last tip on the paperwork, we shredded loads of our paperwork. There is really no need to keep unnecessary paper with all your information in. So we really did shred pretty much everything that we can. Therefore, the only paperwork we kept was all the things that we really needed. Yeah, we're very anti-paper, me and Anne. The other thing is, in preparation for when the packers come, be really clear on what's going via air versus seas. I was really good, and not so much. But I was really clear with each room, all the things that needed to go via sea versus air, because when the packers come, they don't know. You need to tell them what to pack and what's going where. And it's easier if you're not just siding and trying to sort things in the moment. And the other thing that I done, and that's just me, and if any of you watch or follow me on my Heels and Business Instagram, you will see that I posted lots of how I organized all my things. I like to be organized. I had all these little storage boxes, trinkets, packets, all different ways of organizing, like my costume jewelry, accessories, toiletries. I feel it means that it will be easier when I get my things on the other side. And yeah, who knows how his things are coming. And that's it. Essentially you just wait for the packers to come. They do all the heavy lifting literally on the day. You will need to be there just to make sure that they know what they're packing. Water them, make tea, coffee. They usually like that you keep your kettle aside for them. But really you just sit back and you don't really do much that day. But what I would say is just enjoy it, because at that moment, that is when it all becomes real. It was a bit strange for us because we went through that process twice. The first time wasn't that exciting. There was the pandemic, the proclamation from Trump. We had no idea when Ant was getting our visa, so that was a bit of a weird one. We was going into this temporary place in an Airbnb, but then when the last pack happened in March, it's really surreal. So what I would say is just enjoy it, because your life is about to change. Thanks for watching the ANS way. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. We keep saying this, it really helps our channel. And hit that like button, because I'm hoping you found this video super useful. And please comment below any more information that you want to know about that process of moving to the USA. I know a few of you are in that process right now. Please do share your journey with us. I can only sympathize and empathize with how you're going at the moment. We're very excited for you. And yeah, thanks for watching.